so that you can just grab that hex code in Klaviyo when we set up emails, when we get into Shopify, and you can easily paste them across. But I'm going to tinker around with this. I think that's everything that you guys need to know. I'll pick a logo and I'll see you in the next module. Alrighty, in today's video, we're going to cover how to create user-generated content for things like Facebook ads. We might also use some of the stuff on the website. Now, this is one of the most important videos out of this whole series, and I think it's definitely where a lot of people go wrong within their building their brand. User-generated content kind of came onto the scene probably, I would say 5 years ago. It started to really absorb the majority of the budget within the Facebook ad accounts. Now, what user-generated content is, if you go onto Facebook and you check out any major kind of brands like Woody or all of these other people, you'll see that a lot of the content it's similar to influencer content where they're holding the phone, talking about the product, talking about the value propositions of the product. Now, the reason why it works so well is because it feels like your friend is telling you something about the product, and it matches the formats of other social media posts within the platforms themselves. So it's less about being sold to, more about being educated. Now, a lot of brands get this wrong because they will not create enough user-generated content. They won't brief in the creator as well. So I'm going to walk you through the entire process about how to find user-generated creators specifically. Then I'm going to cover kind of how to pay them, how to brief them in, pretty much everything that you're going to need to know. So the first option to find user-generated content is we can actually just go into Twitter or even Instagram, and we can just write in UGC creator. Now we can click search and we can go people. Now what you're going to get is just a bunch of UGC creators that are already putting their name into UGC creator, because that allows people to be discovered. Now, probably Instagram may be a better one, but I'm not 100% sold on that. So we can just click into these guys and basically review their content. They should have if they're any good, they're going to have a portfolio that you can kind of click into, or just at least understand their quality of the creative. So we can just unmute this.
And the feature that just replied to call their AI that we gotta use it simply improve.
Now, what are we looking for? The first, we're looking for a really, just generally, how does the content look? If it's terrible lighting, if it's terrible audio, if they don't captivate you in the first 3 seconds, then they just don't know what they're doing. The next thing that we're looking at is how are they actually presenting the information? Is it kind of convincing? Does it emotionally move you? Some of them can be very robotic about the script or about the brief, and we really don't want that. Generally, all of their creatives, any good UGC creator is going to have some really good points, and it's going to kind of convince you. So her content is incredible. And you can see that she's also doing a few different formats as well, which I think is really great, because these creators, they should be so obsessed with the platforms and the results that they're bringing. So creative diversification is a big point for them. So if all of their creatives look exactly the same, you can kind of guess that you're not going to get much variety, which, it's not always a deal breaker if the creatives are good, but I like to see when they do have a bit of variety. So we've got this one, fast, quick hook. So she gets it as well. We can go to some of her brands. That was her promoting herself. You can see how she's talking with so much emotion, and, she's talking with her hands, and it's instantly going to kind of captivate you. So we can kind of go through these. All of these have looked really, really good, and we can select some. Now, how do we reach out to these people? Well, anyone that wants to be contacted is going to have their email available. So you can simply copy and paste this email, and we can start grabbing a bunch of these emails. So I'm just starting a new document here. Let's go. I'll just include the link as well. Let's just grab a couple. And I'll grab this one as well. Because these were like the number one and they've got a fair few followers, there is a good chance that they will be quite expensive. So that's why I'm just going to make sure that I grab a few of them. Cool. She looks good as well. She wants you to DM, so I can just put this and go right in DM. Sweet. You can go to their website and look at all of their creatives, but realistically, we want to get a decent size list here. Now, in a second, we're going to write this creator brief to actually contact all of these creators. But before I do that, I want to cover some other ways that we can actually get user-generated content because I think it's really important. There's tools such as Star Now, that's predominantly Australia, I believe, and then Backstage as well. These tools allow us to actually hire actors rather than hire UGC creators. Now, if you think about what a UGC creator really is, someone that, passionate about the product, but also is convincing, can understand how to incorporate words into making someone take action. Actors are great at that. And believe it or not, actors can often be much, much cheaper than UGC creators because UGC creators are very tied to the money that brands are creating. So people are willing to pay them more. Whereas actors, they generally don't have that social media background initially. So they can't edit these videos into these great formats. And they need a lot more kind of coaching through the process. But when you would hire an actor is probably when, let's say you're selling, like I've used this example a couple of times, but like a big kayak or something like that, something where you don't want to send them a $1,500 product and you kind of only have one or two products initially. And you're just like, look, or the other reason you might do this is when it's really complicated, the actual shooting process as well, because you want to be there to manage it. If you have no skills in social media, if you have no skills in Facebook advertising, and you're kind of just getting started, I do highly recommend you use either a UGC creator that knows what they're doing, because remember, when you close the skill gap by using experienced people, there's less room for error. There's a time and a place where you want to trial and error and you want to learn it yourself and get involved, but I don't want you to create a brand and create a product and then wonder, maybe my creatives are just terrible, which is obviously one of the main reasons why people actually fail. So I don't want you taking too much of a risk here. I think I would prefer to use a UGC creator if you've got budget. Now, if you have no budget, you're going to be wanting to do this yourself. You are the creator. I obviously don't want to be the creator because I think I'm just going to create a video and everyone's going to see my face and they're going to buy it. And then it's just going to be unfair. It's going to not be true results. So, but realistically, you can be the UGC creator initially. If not, you can hire these guys if you've got a budget. The only other form, which is if you've got even more budget and less time and you don't want to brief in people, is using a UGC agency, which we've used a lot throughout our brands, especially to get volume through. Now, I can leave a couple of recommendations of UGC creators in the course itself. But yeah, realistically, you're basically paying an agency to handle the briefing, handle the sourcing. So obviously it's going to cost you a little bit more, but I do highly recommend that if you've got budget and you just kind of want to move fast. But I'm going to keep showing you how to actually reach out and interact with these people because I think that's a skill that's going to be most valuable to you all. So I've got 3 contact details here. I'm going to, of course, flesh this out at a later date. But we want to build out this brief to make sure that people know what they're signing up for. So the brief is kind of in line with the core reasons around why a UGC piece of content will work and not work. And some creators work really well with being really flexible. And you're like, here's my website, here's my product, go make me an amazing ad. I don't want to leave that much up to chance initially, especially with kind of a newish product. So you're really wanting to understand the deliverables, the core content, and probably the core content messaging is a better way to say it. The hook variations, which is the first 3 seconds, because we can create different variations within the hook to make sure that, let's say one didn't work, we could just sub that 3 seconds in for another ad and run that as well. I've seen, sometimes hooks can determine whether it works or not, doesn't work. We've got the brand do's and don'ts as well, which we're going to fill out in a second, which is somewhat obvious. And then we've got usage rights as well. Now, these are all things that we can prompt in rather than, we never want to use a script, in my opinion, unless it's a very, very kind of long video. by using a script, we're going to get rid of the main benefit of what UGC actually is, which is like it feels authentic. It feels like that the actual words. And you kind of want it to be their actual words as well to some degree. You want them to have the product and actually be talking about it in the way that they would talk about it. So I've got this template here with what we're going to be filling out. The first one is deliverables. So for example, we've got 3 hook variations between 30 and 60 seconds long of footage. And then we've also got lifestyle shots as well, which is sometimes you don't need those, especially if you're established, but we're a new brand. So we're going to try to get as much as we can take. And yeah, we can add all of these guidelines. Don't add text or captions in your video. This will allow you to have optimal freedom at a later date. All of this stuff, like recording good lighting and quality, is definitely a given for the good creators. But if you pick a bad creator, trust me, they'll forget that. And by just explicitly saying things that are obvious, kind of cover you down the line and just reminds them as well. And it shows that you know what you're doing. Don't use any licensed music in the background. We can actually put these more so in the do's and don'ts. So it probably should be there. Sweet. Then the core content. So this is where we're explaining the basis of the concept and doing loose scripts. So for us, it's going to be the main problem might be blisters when hiking, and the product is using alpaca to therefore solve that. That may be the core fundamental part of one piece of creative. Now, in that piece of creative, do we suddenly want to go, hey, this is a great at-home compression sock for something like diabetes or something random like that? No, they're completely different ads for completely different avatars. We need to really think about who is this creative for and make sure that we're briefing in our UGC creator. One, we're picking the right avatar that's the right UGC creator for that. There's no point me getting a 14-year-old kid that's like hiking Mount Everest or something like that. That's stupid. Whereas if I want to find maybe like someone that you could picture hiking Mount Everest to do that creative, and I'm briefing them in for that type of creative. So really important that we kind of select the right thing there and then outline it within the brief. And this is why sometimes just giving them the website, no brief is kind of just, you're going to burn some cash. And then the hook as well. Now, I've had positive and negative effects scripting in the hook. I think that sometimes really good UGC creators can actually create new hooks that I couldn't even think of, but it's probably good for you to have a think about a couple of hooks. And whenever you're briefing in hooks, don't just look at competing brands and try to adapt them and make them creative for your brand. Like look at completely adjacent businesses like the Hoodie, like some of these big competitors, like High Smile, like Ridge, all of these guys, and study their hooks because maybe they're even better. And then you can adapt them. Yeah, we're just briefing in the type of hook. Like, is it a voiceover? Is it showing using the product? And then we've got our do's and don'ts, which I have kind of covered, but I'll just go through them because we're not rushed for time. We've got removal tags and packaging of products. Maybe you actually want the packaging of the product, which you can outline there. Keep a clean shooting area. That's obvious. Don't overemphasize your feedback or review. Like that's just so it's not like, cringe. And then recording good lighting. And then we've got also don't film with background noise, have other brands. So like logos, if maybe they're wearing a Patagonia jacket and we don't want that. I'm not too worried about that in this one. Yeah, so that's realistically all of it. Now, one thing, if you are really struggling to find creators, even though it's that simple, maybe they're just too expensive or nobody's replying to you, I will set up in the Millionaire Discord a creator channel where you can find work or even at work as a creator. So make sure you kind of go check that out as well. So now we're over to our deliverables now for our actual alpaca socks. How are we going to brief this in? So the deliverables, what I really want is I want 3 times hook variations. I also want 3 times creative angles. Actually, I'll just call them ad angles for, 20 to 60 seconds. And then we will also have some lifestyle imagery. iPhone photos are fine. And then we also want all raw footage. which will just allow me to edit it at a later date and mix and match. And then I think that's pretty good. That's all we need. Usage rights, we'll just put forever or in perpetuity. And then we've got core content messaging. So the first creative that we're going to do is for hikers. So the best socks for hikers. And then we're basically pulling all of the unique selling propositions of the alpaca socks across here, which seem to be quite consistent across all of the competitors. So this is where we want to come to our competitor section, because a lot of them are using a lot of the same creative angles. And truthfully, the creative angles that everyone is using is going to be very similar across the entire sock industry. Like people selling merino wool, people selling, 100% cotton. They're all going to be using similar creative angles. Now, I'm going to kind of push the creative angle a bit more to the extreme here and try to use a little bit more statistics as well to really drive that home. So I'm actually going to use ChatGPT to kind of try to figure this out. I'm just asking what are some facts about alpaca as a material that is great for hiking, and we can check out some of the words that they're using. So excellent insulation in cold conditions. Let's go back to our creative brief, and we've got core content messaging. So let's do best insulated socks for really cold walks. And then, so we've got best insulated socks for really cold walks, best for hikers. We know that we're targeting hikers, and the core content messaging is that it's just really great for cold walks. So the next thing that we're going to want to do is we're going to want to make sure that we have a really good hook for this. So it's like, what's something that a hiker would feel in this moment? Now, one thing that you could definitely do here, which I'll just show you how to do, is we can just go to here, and we'll just go Reddit cold feet hiking. And we can come to these Reddit forums, and we can just see how the customer base actually communicates this issue. Because these stories that people are talking about on Reddit, lots of people have them. And that's kind of what the UGC creator is trying to tap into, the emotion of when these people have had those things. So, for example, they're using bottles with boiling water to heat their feet. For example, get toe warmers. So instantly we have, like, just for example, we've got sleeping booties. We've got the boiling water bottle. We've also got toe warmers. Now, we would need to validate more using hiker knowledge that is a common solution that people are using, but you can think of a hook there. You can think of common belief disruption as the hook. So people are like, let's say use toe warmers, for example. The way that you would do that is, let's say everyone's using toe warmers. You would grab the toe warmer as the hook and just say, stop using toe warmers. There's a better way to warm your feet. Because every single person that has ever used a toe warmer is going to watch that next, 10 seconds after that first 3 seconds, right? So we're trying to do pattern interruption, and we're trying to use cognitive dissonance between their existing beliefs already. And we can't do that without marketing research. We can't do that without understanding our customer. And this is where ChatGPT, studying competitors, Reddit, these all come in very, very handy. And the best place to find this in the future, which you'll find out, is your customers. Calling your customers after you get a couple is going to give you the best marketing angles possible, and surveying them. They're going to give you stories that you can pretty much either send them extra product to create the creatives, and they can tell their authentic, real story for it, which is super, super effective. And yeah, it just converts way, way better. So this is kind of what I'll go through. Let me just kind of finish off one brief that I can send off, and then I'll complete the other 3 in my own time. So I want to go to probably the most sleeping booties. This is an interesting comment as well, like word for word, thick socks don't matter if they're damp. So if we were going to do, let's say, let's just call this the cold angle. Let's do another angle here, which is like wet/damp. And we'll just get rid of this. But I really like this as an angle. Thick socks don't matter if they're damp. Now, we know that the alpaca socks, the material is really good for moisture wicking. So that's going to be a really nice hook that we can grab there. So kind of building out all of these creatives in my head while I'm doing it. But I'm going to go back to this cold angle and try to come up with a hook. Sleeping booties. Sleeping booties aren't the best way to keep your feet warm. And then we can even have a bunch of other, of these stories kind of incorporated with it. We can do, we could also do the toe warmers, but look, I'm definitely going to have to do a bit more research and chat to a couple more hikers before I do this. Now, this is one of the benefits of actually getting a UGC creator that understands hiking for it, because they're going to correct me if I'm absolutely stupid about this. But I think that I'm going to do toe warmers. It seems to be a bit more obvious, and it's not going to be expensive for them to get that as like a prop within the hook. Toe warmers, brand do's and don'ts. All right, let's create this for it. So I'm actually just going to grab all of these do's and don'ts. You guys can copy them all as well. I think they're fine. Sweet. That all looks pretty good. And I think we want to increase this core messaging just because there needs to be a few more. Now, one thing that I didn't see in my market research was really highlighting why alpaca fur is so good for socks. And I assume, which we can again come back to ChatGPT. So I'm just asking, why is alpaca fur so good? Is it because they're in the cold? So this here is really kind of interesting. Like, they are based in the Andes in South America, which is obviously freezing. And it talks about the fiber structure of the fur itself. So this is kind of, we've got features, benefits, and hook as well. So don't forget this. So the hook obviously is kind of what's capturing them. Then we can talk about the features of the socks, which would be like padded heel. Then we've also got the fact that it is alpaca fur. And then what are the benefits of that? Which is, we're not going to get cold feet during sleeping. Then there's kind of the, how does it work? The people often overlook. Now, this is where we can use surveys. We can use scientific studies, peer-reviewed studies, and we can really dive deep. Now, one thing that you'll often see with the really good marketers is they'll use kind of 3D renders. You've probably seen people with foam rollers, selling foam rollers or something like that, and they'll show the spine and 3D render, and then they'll get a doctor to talk about the science behind everything. This is really a great way to reinforce the features and benefits that we've talked about and actually make people trust the process. The more language we can use around the hollow fiber structure, the rational reasoning around why alpaca fur is so good for it, it's going to be better. So we can kind of just grab this here. I don't want to grab too much, but I can just grab all of this. They're not going to copy this word for word. So I just added that scientific explanation so they don't have to go find it. So we've also got best insulated socks for really cold walks / sleeping in socks. Now, there's probably someone out there that's saying don't sleep in your socks, but I think that's going to either trigger people during the ad, which might get us a bit more engagement. The best for hikers. Cool. How it kind of works. Then what else? We've got this resistance to moisture as well, which is this angled back here. Sweet. Just fleshing this out. Cool content messaging. So it's the best for hikers. I'm going to just get rid of the general saying it's the best for hikers because that's kind of this cold angle. Best insulated socks for really cold walks / sleeping in socks. So kind of jumping around a little bit, but that's just how my brain works. Some other hook variations. We could go back to Reddit, but I'm just going to think about it. Have your feet ever gotten cold on a really cold hike? Something like that. Have your feet ever felt like they are going to freeze off on a really cold hike? So just using a bit more dramatic language there to hook people in. Got the toe warmers, got that. So we're asking for 3 hook variations. So we probably want to give them 3 hook variations and ideas. We probably want to use something even more dramatic with the cold, because obviously people can kind of get, health issues from the cold of their feet. So we can just come back to ChatGPT, go, what are some main risks of your feet getting cold on hikes? So we've got frostbite, that's kind of an obvious one. Hypothermia, trench foot. We do have to be a little bit careful about the claims we're making, because I don't really want to go as far as frostbite because I don't know enough about it. It'd be a bit irresponsible. But blisters, obviously we know that the product can help blisters already. So we're combining 2 kind of features. We're keeping the cold hook, but we're also talking about blisters with it as well, which I think will be good. We know that's good. So did you know that cold weather, cold hikes can increase your chances of getting blisters due to the moisture? Cool. And then we've got that crazy hook, but then we've got the solution here as well. So this brief is starting to look pretty good. The one thing that I actually forgot to do is also the call to action. Call to action, which is basically what you need to say at the end. We might just put this in the deliverables as well, because sometimes you can actually ask for more than one call to action. 1 times call to action. So the call to action down here can be buy now at URL, like pretty much. And you can put anything there. You could even do like if you've got an offer, so like buy 1, get 1 free here as well. The other core content messaging, we might want to be like free returns as well. Free returns and exchanges. Or we could even go a little bit further and have our 100-day satisfaction guarantee. Free returns. Cool. So this is starting to take shape. The way that I can see this ad going is the person goes, toe warmers aren't the best way to keep your feet warm. And then they go, did you know about, there's actual socks that are the best socks out there for this. You can either use them when you sleep or walk. And then how does it work? It's like alpaca fibers are partially hollow, which allows them to insulate more with air pockets. This sock is, and you don't really need to fill them in about your business too much. They're going to fill that in themselves. And then they're going to go, there's a 100-day satisfaction guarantee with these socks. You've got to try them. You can buy 1, get 1 free here, or buy 1 at domain. That's kind of how the ad is going to play out. Now we're going to have the 3 hook variations that we're asking for, so we can kind of mix and match that. We might even just use their hook and then add a bunch of other footage that we're going to shoot ourselves on iPhone and use images, whatever. But yeah, realistically, we're going to get all of this in raw format. So across all of it, I think that there's some really interesting things for very experienced hikers. So it's worth saying this is a bit more experienced, because the beginner hikers probably aren't going on crazy cold hikes. I could be wrong about that. Again, I'm lacking a bit of knowledge in here, but I think the best way to get information is action. So yeah, how do we, what do we do now? Basically, we've got to copy and paste this whole brief, and we're going to go to one of these emails. So I'm going to come to this Gmail, and we might have to just actually screenshot this. This is probably why Google Docs was better to use initially, but we can put it here. And we've got the brief attached. Now, what will we say? We want to actually make this tailored. Now, ideally, you would actually use the email that is linked to your website. You want to use Davey at the Uddy to actually send it to them so they know you're not a scammer. And we can just do UGC creation alpaca socks. And the email can just be as follows. I'll give you this template. We just don't want to sound like a robot. So this creative here. For my brand, I'm just going to make this a template for everybody. You guys aren't going to be able to use this part, but that's okay. I'm just wondering if I leverage the Uddy Cool. So we've got, hey, Samantha, love your UGC on X. Your AI tool is just what we need. So just personalizing it so they know you're not just spamming them. I'm looking to get some UGC created, and you can just insert your brand name there. You're obviously going to have to delete this, but I would add a personalized thing about yourself here. You may already know me in the e-com space. My name is Dave Fogarty, and I grew the Oodie to 700 million sales. Yours might be up and coming dropshipper that has launched a couple of successful brands that have done $1 million in sales, whatever. Or, you know, I'm confident that I'm finally going to hit a winner. I don't know, maybe you've run an agency before. Just add something personal there so that they know that you're good. Attached to the brief that I'd love for you, to work with you on. There's plenty of long-term work and other creative angles we can do. Can you please outline your rate to complete this project? So they'll come back, and your estimated delivery time after the product arrives. So really putting a time constriction on these projects is important, because some of these UGC creators, they will just not send it for ages, and we're in a rush here. So next step is I'm actually going to send this to like 15 creators, because I want to find, you know, get the whole range of pricing and compare them all. Now, all I'm going to do to find these creators is I'm going to do UGC creator on TikTok and also influencers, searching them in. But I'm also going to really look hard for anyone that's done hiking or just looks like they're doing hiking, or someone just in the outdoor space, so I can make sure that I get someone that can authentically sell the product. But yeah, I'll let you know how they respond, and we can book some of them in. So pretty much what we're going to do is we've got all the talking points from just the copywriting, all of the stuff that we've been doing. We've got a shot list, right? Whenever you do user-generated content, the exact same way that we were briefing in these content creators, this is all they're doing. They're getting that brief that we're providing them, and I'm giving the brief to Alex today. I'm just going to get him to say the words in different situations. We're also going to just be capturing footage in different situations, because we want all of this footage in Google Drive so that we can pull and match different hooks and different body footage as well, so that eventually we get a good creative. And I'm going to show you how to edit all of those videos as well. But yeah, realistically, we're just going to get started now. So it doesn't matter too much, because it's user-generated content in terms of like quality. You want it to be visible, you want it to have good audio, but it doesn't need to be a very polished scene, if that makes sense. So we're just going to get started now. So obviously Alex is going to be filming himself a lot, but for the things that he can't film himself, I'm just going to film them now. And if you can not look at the camera, that would be really
Sorry.
That looks really crisp. Stand up. Jump. Cool. So we want both macro, we want close-up imagery, close-up videography, sorry, and we also went further away as well, because generally you're going to be like setting the scene and then showing things that are closer. Cool, now we're going to get him to grab the iPhone and put it on selfie mode. And the first talking point that we want, and we probably need to get the socks in it somehow, so maybe sit where you were sitting before and just basically be like, do your feet get heaps hot and sweaty? That hook, just something natural along those lines.
Yep.
These socks are a game changer.
Do your feet get hot and sweaty when you're on the tools? Well, these alpaca socks are made out of alpaca fibers, which are super smooth and cooling.
Yeah, that was good. But let's do it in two. Do your feet get super hot when they're on the tools? These socks are made out of alpaca fibers. Just get there.
Okay.
Sherlock, come out.
Let's be a star. Do your feet get hot and sweaty when you're on the tools? Well, these are the new alpaca socks.
No.
Wait, what was it?
These alpaca socks are made out of alpaca fibers.
Alpaca fiber, okay. Because of these fibers, it leads to less pressure and more ventilation, so your feet stay cooler throughout the day.
They're perfect for any tradie.
They're perfect for any tradie.
And now just give me a call to action, which is like, the crazy thing is there's a buy one, get one free sale at the moment.
Yeah. The crazy thing is these guys have a buy one, get one free right now, so go check them out.
Awesome, that was great.
Nice.
Obviously, if you can use a family member or a friend. But you can also use actors for this. Like a lot of brands are just using actors for their user-generated content because all they need to do is be convincing and all they need to do is memorize lines. Cool. I think that looks really good because you can see all the tools in the background, like the work site. Yeah.
So I'm on site right now and it's like 100 degrees outside, but here's my secret to staying cool all day. These alpaca socks. They're made out of alpaca fibers, which is way better than wool, way better than cotton. There's less compression, which means there's more ventilation, which means my feet stay cool all day. And the best part is they are moisture wicking, which means that you do not get blisters on your feet. And if you want these, they're a life changer. Go check them out on their website.
Boom.
That
was awesome. That was great.
Moisture wicking, is that the right term I use?
Perfect.
Okay, good.
That was good. I think that there's a good tradie angle. Let's get some just B-roll now.
Yep.
Of you. We probably need shorts, eh? Oh, there we go. Yeah,
I'll roll them up.
Let's get pretending on the tools.
Yeah. Do there any tools, any saws, any hammers, nails?
Dude, I wouldn't even trust you with a hammer.
No. I'd probably swing it.
I trust you with a camera.
Is there a shovel I can pretend to shove dirt with? Surely they leave something around.
Oh, here's a staple gun.
No way.
It doesn't. Yeah. Put the gun closer to your foot. Yeah. Perfect.
Measure.
See, that looks good. So now all we're going to do is we're just going to keep repeating that. Different hooks, different call out actions, different points that we're talking about with the socks, scenarios and stories that we've researched from our customer, getting Alex to repeat those. And I'm going to do that all for the tradie angle. But then we're going to go down to where I actually have alpacas as well, which is kind of lucky. And we're going to shoot some content down there for the hiking angle as well. We're going to shoot some longer form content, a little bit more polished. But yeah, we're also going to shoot some content using the animals as a props because remember, we're just trying to get attention. We don't want to be like everybody else, everyone else's sock adverts. So yeah. So just see these alpacas behind me? They're not happy. And that's because I just made these socks from their wool.
Quick, they're going.
All right. You see these alpacas?
They're on that side.
You see these alpacas? You see how they're not happy? Well, I just made these socks out of their wool.
You need to frame them more. So you need to go fully horizontal and point at them.
Okay.
Yeah, like that.
You see these alpacas? They're not very happy. And here's why. I made socks out of their wool. Whether you're out for a day hike or tackling a multi-day trek, there's always one thing that seems inevitable. Here's the problem. Your socks are failing you. The truth is most socks aren't built for hikers. And when you're miles from camp, the last thing you need is a blister slowing you down. Oh my God. Let me just do that last one again. Let's do that last one again. So what's next? Right now you can get Peak Textile Alpaca socks on sale. Click the link below and get yours today. And say goodbye to blisters, soggy socks, and foot pain.
Yeah, keep presenting and show the socks.
Yeah.
Cool. Go. Yeah, and hold them up a bit to your chest and then stretch them. Yeah, stretch them. There we go. So now we've got to edit the user-generated content that we just created. So typically, if you're using a UGC creator, they're going to send you a bunch of files. How do we organize them? How do we create different edits, different pacing, different angles, that kind of stuff? Now, you can actually just use your phone. You can go into Instagram editor and cut it up. You can also just use your phone for CapCut as well. And you can also use CapCut on your desktop, which I'm going to use today. I think using desktop is best because you can drag and drop and see the layers a little bit easier. But using your phone, it's going to make things feel very native as well because you're basically creating it in Instagram and the ad's going to be shown on Instagram. So don't be afraid to do that if you want to just completely free edit it. Now, I'm on CapCut Pro today. You don't need that necessarily, but sometimes you get certain features like enhanced voice that you want, especially if you're spending money behind these ads. But use the free versions if you don't have any money, as always. So I am now in CapCut here. So I'm going to go to all of the files that I shot, and I'm going to just find one that's nice and easy for me to edit without too many different files. So I'm just going to drag this one in. No, that's 2 seconds. So this version here. Now I'm just going to drag this file in, and then I'm going to play it here. If you're wearing everyday normal socks, check this out. So really nice hook, people are kind of curious is like, why is he holding this sock? What's wrong with my everyday socks?
Right.
The only issue with this video is he doesn't look like a tradie. He wasn't wearing a high vis. He is in the tradie site, which will capture that demographics attention. But like, we're going to have to just call that out using what's called a title. So pretty much with your editing the UGC, you have a few options. The first thing you can do is add titles, and then you can add captions as well. Captions are auto-transcribed of them speaking. And this is because not many people are using audio when they're scrolling through Instagram. They're muted because they're in bed or something like that. So we want to add captions as well to capture their attention. But titles is something that they didn't say that you actually want it to say. And it can be very, very effective. Again, we want this to look native. So we want to use a similar title that you'll find on Instagram or TikTok. But yeah, the other thing with this video, I'll just fast forward here, is there's a really long pause here. You can't have any long pauses. Quick, like they should stop speaking and then start speaking again. There should be no, if you watch this start, he doesn't start speaking for like half a second, right? This is just too long. You want them to start speaking straight away. So these are the things that we can start tidying up here. So to cut things, by the way, guys, I'm not a CapCut editor. I'm just zooming in here so I can see where the audio lines are here, and we can just cut here. Okay, cool. So I'm just using the keyboard shortcut W to cut, but you can just click these things up here if you're confused. It's like you create a split and then you can just delete that bit. Oh, I just deleted the whole video.
If you're wearing it every day,
see, he's now speaking very quickly. So I'm just going to trim this first before adding any titles or anything like that. So this bit, I wish he was speaking during it. There's just too much silence. But anyway, that is what it is. I'm wondering if we can fix that in another way. But anyway, so this big silence here can be cut. So I'm just going to split this into two things. And then I can see the audio start speaking there. So I'm going to pull this all the way here. Now it should be gone. So
it's on your feet. And then you have these out.
See how much quicker that is? Then we got more silence here, which is not great. But anyway.
It falls right off because it's moisture wicking materials. It's hollow fibers, just like a real alpaca. When they're out in the rain.
Sweet. So I think that's all good. So only 2 cuts in this one. Now, if you wanted to, you can add more footage over the top of this, like B-roll. Like when he says, just like a real alpaca in this, we could drag a real alpaca over it getting rained on, but I'm not going to do that for this one. I'm going to keep this super raw.
Safe, dry, and safe from blisters. If you're wearing it.
Cool. So now I've got that done. What I can do is I can add my captions. Now, ratios. Let's talk about this. So this is a 9:16, 9 across, 16. You always start with a cross. That is good for stories dimensions, but we want our ads to run on dimensions for 4 to 5 because that's what the Instagram feed is and the Facebook feed. But we also want to run it for 9:16 because we also want stories. So we're going to have to create 2 videos here. I'm just going to finish off the 9:16 and then I'm going to show you how to change it to a 4 to 5 as well and export both of them. So I want to come into text at the top, and I want to create auto captions. This isn't a pro feature, which is good for those people that want to use it. So I'm just going to click generate, take a few seconds. So one thing that you'll notice about these captions is they're really long, like it just sits there and there's not enough movement. So it's just sitting there. Like you just want movement. You want to keep people with ADHD just watching pretty much. You want hyper dopamine content. So I'm going to click this. So you can highlight them all and then you've got all of the captions here. And I can just click enter and it will put it into a new line. And we just want 1 or 2 words. We want them to all be a similar length if possible. So like you can see this one's maybe a bit too long. Let me just see how that looks. It's cool. It's still too slow. So I'm going to start that again. Do it a little bit smarter. Sweet. So I'm going to, if you're in your everyday, so I'm just going to keep it super quick like this. Spread all of these out. Stop letting them be a bit bigger here. And if you see any words that aren't spelt right, this is your time to change them. The Instagram editors really struggles with. So brewer packer, that's obviously just like an alpaca. We can add some like ... dots. Cool. Oh, keep clicking that button.
If you're wearing your everyday normal sock,
So it says if you're wearing, but that says if you're in. Sorry, this is a bit boring, guys. If you are, and we want to capitalize, if you're wearing your everyday normal socks. Cool.
if you're wearing your everyday normal socks, check this out.
Sweet. And then just click through, make sure it's all good. So that one's a bit too long. I'm going to cut that. Cool. And that should all match. Sweet. Now we can just highlight all of this and we're going to change it to a different caption. So this one looks pretty good. This one's used a fair bit. You can clearly see what's going on. Now, I just want one more title. So
If you're wearing your everyday normal socks, check this out.
I just want to add a text layer. Add text, default text.
If you're wearing your everyday,
And I'm just going to drag that down. And I just wanted at the start just to, again, deal with that, like, who's this video for? The ultimate socks for builders. Cool. And now we want the background color to be, we want the color to be black. Then we want the background color to be white because that's going to match like what Instagram is. So go white and then we want it like that. Now it looks like that Instagram section. So we can drag this down a little bit and let's see how it looks.
if you're wearing your everyday normal socks,
Cool. We probably want it down a bit more. Then I'm 16, maybe shrunk a bit.
if you're wearing your
Boop.
if you're wearing your everyday normal socks, check this out.
Cool. I think that looks pretty good.
Oh,
I wonder if we can speed this bit up to make it look a little bit better. Let me just watch it through.
if you're wearing your everyday normal socks, check this out. Absorbs right into the sock. That's going to be with you all day long. Sweaty, stinky, thin material that's going to build friction and build blisters on your feet. And then you have these alpaca socks, right?
Cool. I do wonder if we like could do like a little circle around that. Might just be a little bit distracting. The other thing we can do is we can actually increase the scale of this as well, like zoom in a little bit more, which we can do with keyframes. Keyframes is actually a pretty important thing. I'll just show you how to do it. So that's actually going to make it blurry. So one other thing we can do is we can highlight this footage and we can add this image enhancement. I've just added it. And also you can add audio and you can go enhance voice because we want to make sure that the voice is very clear. But this video, you know, we used the iPhone and it was pretty quiet. So it looks pretty good. So this is ready to export. So I'm just going to change this to 1080 to 1350. Click save. Now all I need to do with this one is increase the size and scale of my clip. So just scaling it up to 143%. 143. Whatever, I'm sure there's a better way to do this. But you can see now that it looks a little bit weird with the captions. I just want to make sure the captions are sitting in a good spot. And also, so I just want to drag these down a bit. So you can't see his face in this, which is kind of not good for emotional connection. So we just need to drag him down a bit, making sure that we can see it. Just at the start, it's probably pretty important. Cool. So
If you're wearing your everyday normal socks, check this out.
So now that title is getting in the way. So I'm going to get rid of it as soon as he starts tipping it.
Check this out. Absorbs right into the sock. That's going to be with you all day long. Sweaty, stinky, thin material. That's
Cool.
your feet are going to be safe, dry, and safe from blisters. If you're wearing
Sweet. So now I can export this as well as a 4:5 ratio. Now we've got both and you can upload those into the ad account.